Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. I have another Monday quarterback video for you. I'm going to play this video and talk about things that are going on to better explain what's going on and talk about things that I think that are being done right and are done wrong. Here we go.
Hello, I'm Escondido Police Chief Ed Varso. This critical incident community briefing is intended to give you information on an officer-involved shooting that occurred in late December 2021, in which a homicide suspect was killed and an Escondido police officer suffered a gunshot wound. You will see relevant video footage, photographs, and illustrations that will give you an understanding of the incident based on what we currently know. Following all officer-involved shootings, a detailed investigative process is launched by the Escondido Police Department's Crimes of Violence Unit. Additionally, the investigative process includes an independent review by the San Diego County District Attorney's Office, the U.S. Attorney's Office, and the FBI to determine if the officer's actions are reasonable under the law. The decision as to the legality of the shooting is rendered by the San Diego District Attorney's Office. In general, that independent review and final determination takes at least 180 days. In accordance with state law, documents associated with this investigation will become available to the public once the investigation is complete. A word of caution: this presentation includes strong language and images and video that may be disturbing. When a police officer uses force to arrest a suspect or defend against an attack, it can be difficult to watch. Viewer discretion is advised.
On December 26, 2021, a homicide occurred in Vista, California. Investigators with the San Diego County Sheriff's Department released a wanted person bulletin for the suspect, Roberto Cazares, a 39-year-old resident of Ramona. Included in the bulletin was a description and license plate of the 2018 Chevrolet Silverado Cazares was driving, as well as information that he was armed with an unknown type firearm and considered dangerous. At 11:39 p.m. on the
Okay, so they don't offer a whole lot of information in this news release about the murder or anything like that. I got interested in trying to find out more about this guy when I noticed the back of the truck. You got here at the top, United States Marine stickers, little Punisher skull thing, and just the way he looks. He does not look like a standard street thug, I guess you could say. He looks like a normal dude. He looks like he's, probably a Marine or was once a Marine. He just has that look about him. The news articles that I've read, one of them said that he has a criminal background, but it did not expound any further on that. So I don't know what that means. That could be he's had, a DUI, he's had some, fights or something like that he's been arrested for. I don't know. There's not a whole lot of information there. The murder itself, he murdered 42-year-old Florencio Rodriguez that he was connected to, like he knew him. Rodriguez was the husband of this guy's ex-girlfriend's sister, but it's not clear how well the two knew each other or what transpired leading up to the incident. It also talked about the pickup truck, and that is another thing that I could not find any definitive information on. Whose truck is this? Was this guy's truck, or was it the homicide victim's truck? Of course, in the articles, it talks about him stepping out of his truck, him being spotted in his truck. So I don't know if those articles are just saying that in the sense that, this is the vehicle he's operating, he's stepping out of his vehicle, or if that's the ownership of that vehicle. Like, this is his vehicle, he owns it. I don't know. That context is a little unclear to me, because there's nothing that I've seen in the articles that are very definitive. And there's a bunch of stuff to sift through as far as links when I type in his name and try and do a search. And I just can't spend all morning trying to research this guy and find out more information, because then that eats into my time of doing the videos. So, don't know anything about him other than what's being shown to me in this video, and basically all the news articles that are just a repeat of, to some extent, what's being said to us. But, like I said, the things that stuck out to me were the vehicle, the Punisher skull, U.S. Marine Corps stuff on there, and his appearance. Him having a soldier, Marine kind of look to himself. Now, this is probably a operator license photo. And even in this operator license photo, it looks like he's wearing a collared shirt. It could be a work shirt, could be a polo, I don't know. It's not a t-shirt or anything like that. And, he looks to be, well kept, I guess you could say. He just doesn't have that thug-ass appearance. So, this plus, there's not a whole lot of information on the murder itself. It looks like this could have been potentially a scenario where it was some type of, I don't want to say domestic, because obviously the two aren't involved, or it doesn't seem like the two would be involved like that. But it's something to do with, connections. They knew each other to some extent, and it seems like this could have been something that turned into a heated kind of situation, and this was not so much a crime of passion, but, emotions probably got extremely high during this thing, and it's what led to this guy killing another guy. Or, it could be, he was somehow getting revenge on this guy because he did something to his sister. I don't know. I just really wish they would have provided more information. The gun itself, it's kind of hard sometimes to say a lot about the gun, especially when these videos, when it is a clear-cut thug. Sometimes they don't even mention, if the gun's stolen or anything like that. So they don't mention that this gun's stolen, so I don't think that it's a stolen gun based off some of the other stuff that I've seen so far in this video, like the things I pointed out. So this is probably his personally bought gun. Probably. Now, like I said, I could be completely wrong. This guy could be a street thug and this is a stolen gun, but I don't know that for sure. It's not what I would call a good fighting pistol, so to speak. It's not a Glock or anything like that. I don't know exactly what this is. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not going to speculate what it is. It's not something that I would recognize right off the bat as a great fighting pistol or anything like that. So that in of itself can kind of lend some insight into the person's background as far as training and stuff like that goes. But it's also, it can't show sometimes, because sometimes criminals will have Glocks. Obviously, if they're a dirtbag criminal and they steal it, that's just a stolen gun at that point. But if someone who's lawfully bought that gun, they've taken that effort to choose the gun they want to get, that can kind of tell a lot about a people. Can. Not always, but it can. For example, an XD, Springfield XD. That tells me a lot. If someone put their time and effort into choosing a gun and that's what they fucking chose, that tells me something about them. Number one, I don't want to take any advice from them. If they choose something like a Glock, that's one of two things. One, they know what they're doing, or B, they just got it because they've heard about it so many times and so many other people got it, so they're just fitting in. Something like an HK pistol, someone takes the time and effort to look into getting an HK pistol, they probably know what the fuck they're doing. They know what they're talking about. Most likely. Now, again, not always. There's some people who have a lot of disposable income and they've seen it in a magazine, they've seen it mentioned, they're like, I'm going to get that thing. So, There's more to it than just that. Now, later on in the video, it mentions that while they're doing a search on him, it sounds like he's got a holster and he's got spare magazines on him. So that right there tells me a little bit more about this guy. This guy is, one, prepared. Right? He's got spare magazines on him, right? Now, it could be because he just now committed this murder and he's arming himself up and he's ready to fight, or that was how he went when he went to go confront this guy. He was ready to fight. Doesn't really tell me for sure if this is his daily carry, his EDC. If it is his EDC, then that kind of gives you some more insight into this guy's mindset and some of his background as far as maybe training with guns and practicing with guns and whatnot. So based off just some of the little snippets of things out of this video and from some of the article stuff, I think this guy was probably a Marine. If not a Marine, then he's at least practiced with, to some extent, his gun. Now, as far as the level of training he's had with a handgun, I don't know. He could have had just a very basic concealed carry class. He could have had potentially a more advanced class from a commercial firearms training school. He could have gotten some military training on pistol if he was a Marine. Possibly. I don't know. But the fact that he got out of that truck, gun blazing, and put one round on an officer who was shooting at him with a fucking rifle tells me that there's probably a pretty good chance this guy was a little bit more prepared than the common street thug. Street thugs, they typically do not do training. They typically do not practice the way that normal gun people practice. They might, shoot their gun in the fucking alley or something, but they don't practice by and large like most gun people do. Not saying not all street thugs are the same. I'm just saying in general they're not like gun people are. They don't go out to the shooting range and practice, at least not with any frequency. So that kind of leads to my thoughts on how training can make a difference in how you perform in a fight. Kind of an odd way to kind of point this guy out and talk about, the good merits of training when he shot at an officer and hit one. But I think it's something that needs to be mentioned and talked about. And I've talked about this before with active shooters. So the guy down in Dallas, Texas, I think it was like back in 2015, 2016, he was former military. He wasn't frontline infantry or anything like that. I think he had like a construction job or something like that in the military. But of course, going in the military, you go into basic training, you get combat training, the same as the frontline people, right? Like you all get that basic combative shit. This guy, he initiated an attack against police, and there's footage that was taken from a distance, and you see him closing the distance on an officer who's taking cover behind a big concrete pillar. He closes the distance on this officer. He brings the fight to him, outmaneuvers him, outflanks him, and shoots him dead. He shoots many other officers, and the dude gets holed up somewhere, and he's such a fucking dangerous threat that the SWAT team don't even want to go in after him. They strap a fucking bomb to a goddamn robot, and like an EOD robot, and they roll that robot in there to where he's at, and they clack that motherfucker off and blow his ass up. That right there, that minimal amount of training that guy had, made him such a threat that not even the SWAT team that trains to go in after armed people wanted to fucking go in after him. They sent a fucking bomb in to take this dude out. a fucking an explosive robot to take him out. So there is, like I said, it's a little weird pointing it out in this aspect, kind of giving credit to bad guys, which I'm not giving them credit, but I'm just pointing things out that training matters. Practicing with your firearms matters. It makes you better at fighting. It increases your odds of survival. So if you've only had a concealed carry class and you carry a gun all the time and you're wanting to be prepared, you're not really prepared. You're more fucked up than a football bat. You need to get out there and get training. You need to practice. Firearm skills are perishable skills. If you go to a 2-day pistol class from any school, I don't care where you go to, at the end of that 2-day class starts the timer for your skills degrading. At the end of that 2-day class, you are going to be Johnny on the spot as far as your skills in marksmanship go. You will fucking shoot great. You will shoot a awesome group. As time passes beyond that point, your skills start to degrade if you do not practice it, if you do not keep it up. If you don't shoot again or touch a gun again, whatever, those skills start to degrade. So you've got to, on top of just taking a firearms class, you've got to practice what you've learned under the watchful eye of a competent instructor, and you need to continue to go train as well. Because you only practice what you've learned for so long, you need to refresh yourself and get through those good, intense repetitions. So there's lessons to be learned from incidents like this. There are lessons to be learned from these active shooter incidents where the person has had some level of training. And you look at their performance versus the performance of others, how long they lasted, what their count was, etc. Training matters. If you are truly invested, truly concerned about your self-preservation, you need to get training. All right, moving on.
Armed with an unknown type firearm and considered dangerous. At 11:39 p.m. on the 26th, an Escondido police officer located the suspect vehicle in the area of East Valley Parkway and Rose Street in the city of Escondido. As officers approached the vehicle to initiate a traffic stop, the vehicle fled, leading officers on a pursuit which lasted 3 hours and 10 minutes.
God. Fucking a 3-hour pursuit. So I've also read another article that mentioned that it was like a 6-hour ordeal. So I don't know which one is more accurate, if it was a 3-hour pursuit or if it was a 6-hour kind of pursuit. I don't know, but it was definitely over a couple hours long that they had been chasing this guy. That's a long ass time to be engaged in a pursuit with someone. Of course, they don't provide any at length pursuit footage or anything like that. So no idea if any pits were initiated or attempted or anything like that. They do end up using spike strips, and they'll show some of that here later on. But that's a long time to be engaged in a pursuit. Like, I would not be surprised to find out that there is probably 1 or 2 cop cars during this pursuit that had to break off pursuit because they fucking ran out of gas. Like, that's happened before in the past too. Like, police had to discontinue the pursuit because they didn't have any more fuel to continue going, or their fucking car died because they ran out of gas. So that there tells you that you should be in the practice of always keeping your fuel tank at half or above. You start during the middle of shift, get to half a tank, you need to start going to the fuel place and start filling up again. Shouldn't ever let your vehicle go too far below half a tank, because you have no idea what's going to happen later on during shift, and if you're going to need as much fuel as you can get. If you start getting down a quarter tank, stuff like that, you're wrong. You shouldn't let your vehicle get that far down without fueling up.
44, so number 3, I'll call it. We're on westbound. Valley approaching Harding. Speed's 40.
Copy, westbound approaching Harding, speed's 40, and that's reserved.
Cazares was positively identified as the driver, and he had a female passenger. The chase involved several law enforcement agencies as it traveled through North County cities. At one point, the suspect vehicle reached speeds of 120 miles per hour. During the pursuit, phone contact was made with the female passenger as well as Cazares himself.
And it's very traffic. We're in the line now with somebody inside the vehicle. It's the female. We're trying to find out if the suspect asked her to call, but we do have an open communication with the suspect in the vehicle.
Members of the Escondido Police Department's emergency negotiation team talked for approximately 2 hours with the two, attempting to convince Cazares to stop the vehicle, let the passenger out, and surrender peacefully. Based on statements and actions by Cazares, it became apparent that the passenger was not going to be allowed to exit the vehicle.
Suspect is advising it's too late for him, trying to get him to get his cousin out of the car.
Throughout the pursuit, several spike strips were successfully deployed, flattening 3 of the truck's tires.
Yes, to back up. Cazares eventually drove back to the city of Escondido, where a slow-speed pursuit continued. Police were able to coordinate with OnStar to disable Cazares' truck on Mission Avenue near Gamble Street.
Alright, so after they spiked him, he obviously was not able to travel at very high speed, and this then turned into a low-speed pursuit, which enabled these 2 armored vehicles to join in the fucking pursuit. Typically, you would not associate an armored vehicle being engaged in a high-speed pursuit. Why? Because they don't go that fucking fast, and they're, I don't know, a little difficult to fucking use in a high-speed pursuit. So this vehicle's tires end up being deflated, and you can't run that fast on deflated tires. So you're going to lose control very easily. But that allowed these 2 armored vehicles to get put into play, which I think had a significant impact in the outcome of this scenario, particularly with the dude hanging out the gunner's turret up top, which we'll see that a little bit later. But armor is pretty cool. It stops fucking bullets, right? So these are 2 great things to be able to have when engaged in something where a person's armed and there's a pretty good high chance they're going to start shooting at you. Some of the some of the regular patrol vehicles that are sold by, like Ford or whatever, like the Explorers and whatnot, they can come with packages, upgrade packages where there's armor in the door. New York uses these ballistic windows in some of their cruisers that became very popular after a couple of NYPD officers were basically just ambushed in their car, just sitting there and just fucking shot to death. And you'll see that in some of these NYPD videos where it's a marked vehicle. You see like this big thick slab of glass thing that looks like it could slide back and forth. That's an armor package upgrade or a aftermarket upgrade that can be put in a vehicle. That's great. That increases your chances of being able to survive initial contact from an armed aggressor. Unfortunately, not all police cars have that. The overwhelming majority of police cars are basically just some improved or souped up version of a commercial vehicle. Take, for example, the Ford Explorer. A soccer mom can get a Ford Explorer. Anybody can go buy a Ford Explorer. There's nothing special about it. When police buy Ford Explorers, the police package version has basically just better brakes, a better alternator, a better radiator, and has a hole drilled through the fucking A-pillar where a spotlight can be put in it. And the middle console is a little bit different. Other than that, it's virtually the same vehicle as what the soccer mom drives. There's no armor in it. Same with Dodge Chargers and the Impalas and the Caprices and the old Crown Vics. I mean, their police cars are just the same as any other consumer model vehicle. The only thing that's different about them is better brakes are installed on them, better radiator, alternator, etc. And sometimes, depending on the gear selector, like on a Dodge Charger, like you get a consumer Dodge Charger, the gear selector is in the middle console. In the police version, it's up on the steering column. So, aside from those very minute differences, the cars are virtually the same, and they're not up armored. So you can very easily put rounds into a police car, and rounds go through the windshield and hit things inside, or go through door panels and hit things inside. But there are some upgrades from some companies that you can get, and there are some aftermarket things that you can get. It would be nice if these manufacturers put different options into these vehicles as a standard thing, like this comes with it, like you don't have to pay any extra for it. That would help increase officer survivability, ambush type attack. But that would also have to change the game on how these agencies decommission those vehicles. They would have to alter how they sell those things at surplus, because obviously you would not want something like that to fall into the wrong hands. Like, think about how many ghetto motherfuckers out there drive decommissioned police cars. Like, how many times have you been rolling through the ghetto and seen a fucking old surplus Crown Vic rolling around with fucking spinners on the tires and a little spotlight right there on the A post? Yeah, would you want those people buying the surplus vehicle that has armor in it? Fuck no. Fuck no, you don't want the little fucking ghetto turds rocking around with armored vehicles. That would make shit way fucking difficult. So that would, like I said, that would definitely alter how these agencies could resell these vehicles. And it would make it difficult for a lot of them to do that too. I mean, depending on how the stuff was built into it, they could maybe take the door panels off and remove some of the panels and take the windshields out and then sell the vehicle, with no windshield or no doors. But, like, who wants to buy a fucking car that don't have doors or a windshield in it? Not many people are going to do that. So that's going to hurt. That would hurt some of those agencies if they were required to have to do that. Some agencies out there just wouldn't give a fuck and they'd sell it as it is. You can go on GovDeals right now and look at fully set up police cars. Has everything in it. Still has the word police on the fucking side. And it's for sale. Anyone can buy it right now. Some agencies don't give a shit. They'll sell it to whoever. Others take a little bit more due diligence and they at least peel off the police writing on the side and take the blue lights off. But other agencies, they don't give a shit. So there would be some agencies out there that would sell up-armored vehicles. And I'm sure that to some extent there's probably some vehicles out there right now, like these Explorers. These Explorers that have the armor in them are being sold to general public right now. Now, I don't think that it's a problem for general public to have up-armored stuff. I just don't think it's a great idea to make it so easy for the criminals to go get this stuff. Because, like I said, how many times have you been in the ghetto and seen a fucking decommissioned police car rolling around on spinning rims? Anyway, going back into this. So, low-speed pursuit enables the armored vehicles to get involved in the pursuit. All right, moving forward.
Units that are following the suspect vehicle, OnStar will flash the lights on the car.
Now you can see
They need a confirmation from a visual deploying the suspect vehicle.
There's a guy in the turret right there.
OnStar will flash the lights on the car. They need a confirmation from a visual that the lights are flashing before they can shut off the vehicle.
When the truck came to a stop, Cazares immediately exited the vehicle and exchanged gunfire.
All right, so in the audio, they were talking that OnStar said that they would make the lights on the vehicle start flashing, and if they heard confirmation back from the officers that the lights were flashing on the vehicle, they'd hit the kill switch and shut the vehicle down.
Fire with 2 Escondido police officers who had been following in an armored vehicle. During the exchange, Cazares was police.
Right.
They need a confirmation from a visual that the lights are flashing before they can shut off the vehicle.
When the truck came to a stop, Cazares immediately.
So that's kind of a really cool thing to be able to do, remotely shut down a vehicle. So OnStar is something that is just unique to certain vehicles. It's not like you can go buy a Nissan and it's going to have that thing built into it, or you can't go buy a little Geo Metro. It's going to have that built into it. Only certain vehicles past a certain age have that technology built into it. It's a service that is primarily for the individual who owns it to be able to enjoy the benefits of. You lock your damn keys in the car. You call OnStar, you go through the vetting process, like, here's my name, my date of birth, last 4 of my social, whatever that vetting process is. I lock my keys in my damn car, and then the people at OnStar will be able to do their magic on the computer and unlock your doors by sending a signal to that vehicle. Pretty damn cool. If your car gets stolen, you can find out its location. They'll ping it and it'll say, hey, here's where it's at, etc. If you're involved in a crash, you can press the little button. Someone will start talking to you. If you're in a bad enough crash and you obviously can't do anything, the sensors in the vehicle will detect and recognize that there's probably a potential for a wreck to have been occurred, especially like the airbags deploy, and that will automatically initiate that OnStar call, and a representative will talk to you through the vehicle speakers and determine what's going on, and then find out your precise location and send emergency services to you. That's cool. That's really awesome. And this, this is the first time I've heard of a pursuit being done and OnStar remotely killing the vehicle. Now, of course, you've seen videos from shows like Bait Car and stuff like that, where they have the car rigged to be able to remote kill it, but that's something they've installed in it themselves. The police did, and this was a setup. This right here, this process, like I said, is something that I don't think I can recall ever hearing of anything like this happening before. So the process that they had to go through is, you got to think this is like 3 hours in, maybe a little bit longer. And at some point, I'm imagining that someone realized, hey, this is a Chevy vehicle. It probably has OnStar built into it. Let's see if we can remote kill it. And that's where what I talked about earlier, I wasn't really sure about whose vehicle it is. So it could have been, this, like I said, it could be the victim's vehicle, and then they found out that it has OnStar on it. Or just by happenstance, someone had a aha light bulb moment and said, hey, this guy's driving a Chevy. Let's see if it's got OnStar built into it. See if we can remote kill it. Of course, his vehicle registration being on file, obviously the police would be able to figure out the VIN number and report it to OnStar and all that, and get the provide his name and all that. That way they could very accurately select the vehicle that needs to be shut down. and I'm sure there was, there's some process that they had to go through with the OnStar company to get this to happen. But what exactly that process is involved, I have no idea, no clue. But it's pretty cool that they were able to do that. It obviously brought this to an end. Now, it would have eventually gone to an end on its own. Eventually, he would have ran the rims down to nothing, and the vehicle would have not been able to easily maneuver or drive, and he would have literally grinded to a halt. And I think it still probably would have ended in a gunfight then. But who knows? It would have been nicer if they could have thought about this well before the 3-hour mark and got this to end a lot sooner. But it didn't. I also think that would be a pretty cool technology to have installed in all vehicles, the ability to remote kill them. Here we are, 2022. We've got, France a year or two back said that by the year something, they were not going to allow certain vehicles to be sold. And then here in California, they said by a certain year they're not going to allow gasoline vehicles to be sold. They want all electric vehicles, whatever. That precedent, I guess you could say, has been set. So it's not too far-fetched of an idea to say, hey, by the year 20-something, whatever, all vehicles manufactured past this time and sold in this state need to have the ability for law enforcement to remote shut off the vehicle to prevent dangerous high-speed pursuits. And I think that's, doable, especially for, all these places that have such restrictive pursuit policies in the name of the safety of the public. There's lots of agencies out there that are forbidden from pursuing vehicles because vehicle pursuits are dangerous. It puts the public at risk. So if there was the technology out there that said after this year, all vehicles manufactured and sold in the state have to have the ability to be remotely shut off by police, then several decades after that, vehicle pursuits will not be very common because all these older vehicles will be aged out. They won't exist anymore, and it'll just be the newer vehicles that have that technology in it, for the most part, that's on the road. And that would be a game changer. That really would. A big time game changer with the ability to remote kill a vehicle. Now, of course, that could open up the possibility for exploitation, misuse by people doing hacking and stuff like that. So the groundwork and everything for having that kind of secure technology, I don't know what it could be. I'm sure the OnStar stuff, I'm sure that's hackable. I'm sure someone has exploited the ability to unlock a damn vehicle by sending a special code to it. But yeah, moving on.
Exited the vehicle and exchanged gunfire with 2 Escondido police officers who had been following in an armored vehicle. During the exchange, Cazares was shot. An Escondido officer...
All right, backing up. So, as I said, there's a guy in the turret right here. You can see him?
Armored vehicle.
So just pay attention to the turret guy. Don't look at anything else. Just the turret guy.
During the exchange, Cazares was shot.
See him shooting.
An Escondido...
And then, of course, when you zoom in to the front driver's side of the vehicle...
In an armored vehicle. During the exchange, Cazares...
You'll see this officer shooting.
Was shot. An Escondido...
But you happen to notice him more...
In an armored vehicle.
Because he's a lot more easily noticeable. He stands out more in the background. But there's two officers shooting. one that goes around to the front of the armored vehicle, and one that is in the turret itself.
During the exchange, Cazares was shot. An Escondido officer was also shot once by Cazares. Medics were immediately called to the scene as officers tended to both Cazares and the injured officer. Cazares was transported to an area hospital where he was pronounced dead. The injured officer was also taken to the hospital for a gunshot wound to the left side of his chest.
All right, so for whatever reason, this is the only time they include this part of the footage of this injured officer. So I'll talk briefly on this, and I'll probably
the injured officer was also taken.
I'll probably mention it later on, but because this is the only time they show it, I don't want to forget it. Notice that he is using
to the hospital for
a fucking knife to cut his shirt open. Mind you, this guy's already been shot.
For a gunshot wound to the left side of his chest.
He is trying to use a knife
and was later released. He was also taken to the hospital for a
They are driving down the road. So look at the window.
To an area hospital where he was pronounced dead. The injured officer was also
watch the window. They're traveling. They're speeding down the road. Just watch stuff go by.
Taken to the hospital for a gunshot wound to the left side of his chest and was later released.
Yeah. That's not the thing you want to use to cut open a person's clothing while you're in a car speeding down the road. You don't want to use a fucking knife. You increase the odds, you increase the chances of causing more harm to that person. That's why medical shears are a necessary piece of equipment when it comes to life safety. First aid gear. You need something to safely remove clothing from a person. You don't see paramedics using fucking folding knives to cut clothes off people when they're in the back of an ambulance. Why? Because it's dangerous. Like I said, you increase the odds of causing more damage, more injury to a person when you do that. So medical shears, or what they call EMT shears, are the most preferred thing to be able to use. The ends of the scissors are they're rounded, so there's no pointy end to them, so that if you slip or something like that, it's not like you're going to be able to accidentally stab a person or anything like that. The ends are rounded, so no stabby capability, but you can cut through clothing very easily with them. So that is a number one choice. Second choice would be something like a seatbelt cutter type of thing, a safety blade or cutter, something that has a very sharp edge that is recessed into the body of it, where you can only hook onto things and then cut, like a seatbelt. Like you can only hook it onto a seatbelt and pull, and then it cuts. You can take this thing and try to run it across your hand, your arm, stuff like that. That blade's not going to cut you because it's recessed inside of it, and you have to hook it onto something that is as thin as the recessed area. Obviously, you can't take a seatbelt cutter and use it to cut a 1-inch rope, right? Like it's not going to fit inside that recessed area. It's going to have to be something as thin as whatever the opening is. Seatbelt clothing will fit into those little open areas of a safety cutter, and you can hook it on there and just start cutting along the clothing and take their clothing off that way. So those are the two recommended things as far as removing people's clothing. Using a knife is not recommended at all.
He has made a full recovery and has since returned to duty.
Ma'am, are you hurt? Do you need medics at all? What's hurt?
I can't. The female passenger was evaluated by medics on scene and was uninjured as a result of this incident.
All right, so notice this crime scene photo here. So here's his gun. Now, mind you, they've probably kicked it away from where he was laying at and everything, so it's probably not exactly where it landed at. But also, check out the armored police vehicle in the background here. Lots of bullet strikes on it. Didn't come from the suspect either, I don't think. Most of these came from those officers with their rifles. Now, Is it possible that some of the rifle rounds went through the guy and went into the vehicle? Possibly. Kind of doubt it. But it's possible. I think most of these are from where they missed the guy. I've talked about missed hits in gunfights before. Usually I talk about how rifles, help minimize those missed hits. But this one, there's quite a few dings on this armored vehicle here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And I don't know what this blurred spot up here is. That's, could be more. Bunch of hits right there. Now, these are probably evidence markers that they've placed on the vehicle itself. I don't think these are the actual marks from the rounds that hit. But these are, like I said, just evidence markers, making it more visually easier to see in photographs. What if this was not an armored vehicle? What if this was a patrol vehicle that had rolled out to the front of this vehicle and then got caught by the quote-unquote crossfire? This is why I generally say that it's not always the greatest idea to have a vehicle come in from the front to try and block a vehicle in, and why, if you do that, you need to get the fuck out of that vehicle as quick as you can and run away. Like, don't even engage in the fight at all. Like, fucking dismount and run as fast as you can to somewhere else. Because when the gunfight happens, all the people who are in this pursuit that are to the rear, they're going to be shooting. And where the fuck are you? You don't want to be in that vehicle if it's not armored. You do not want to be in that vehicle. Bullets go through normal cars very easily. Something as small as a .22 long rifle can go through an entire car door and make it halfway through, or even sometimes, depending on where you hit at, make it all the way through the second door. 9mm for sure will go through 2 car doors. It's not like the movies where you can stand behind a car door and it soaks up rounds from, fucking bazookas and shit. Like, they don't work like that. Small projectiles like a .22 can easily pass through a car panel or door panel on a car. So if you're going to try and use a vehicle to box in another vehicle in a pursuit and you're going to be to the front, once you park that vehicle, you need to dismount and get the hell out of there. Because your vehicle's not going to stop bullets. They're going to keep coming through. If the fight started and you're nose to nose, your best bet is to get as low as you can in that floorboard and hope that damn engine soaks up all those rounds. Otherwise, I don't advocate for doing the nose to nose thing during pursuits and shit like this. It's just way too risky for the person in the front of that vehicle. Now, obviously, this is not a normal vehicle. This is an armored vehicle, so you can get away with doing that. So, evidence markers, like I said, the big white things, they got little measurement things on here, so you can see how big it is, but you can see the mark right there on the grill itself from where he struck the vehicle. Whoops, back it up. Of course, the officer's plate carrier that he was wearing when he got shot. And his radio itself got hit. You can see this yellow little marker looking thing here. I guess this is where they're pointing out, the bullet or whatever. Its flight path potentially. Other than that, I don't know what this could be. Sometimes stuff on your person gets hit. I've seen videos and photographs of radios being hit before. I've also seen video and photographs of like flashlights mounted, or not mounted, but being carried on an outer vest being hit as well. I don't think that this had any bearing on the round being deflected or stopped and saving the officer's life. Especially, something, like that. I mean, it could have, but I don't think that this had any huge determining factor in saving this officer's life or anything like that. Now, sometimes things like this can have a role in deforming that round enough and slowing it down enough where it doesn't do anything. But you shouldn't count on like all your extra gear on the outside of you, being the thing that saves you. Armor is the best thing to be able to have, and armor is what he had. Now, when you go back and look at the vest itself, is went too far. Let it go forward some. Plate carrier, and then these two side things right here. I don't know if these two side things have armor in them or not. They could just be the flaps that go on the side. If you have the ability to put armor in the side, go ahead and do it. I mean, like, why not? Plenty of people have been shot through their side where there was no armor protection. Now, typically, concealed vests, the flaps on the side will overlap to provide coverage on the side. Now, of course, the armpit area is still open or exposed, so to speak. But at least the side down here is somewhat covered. Plate carriers, traditionally with plate carriers, it's always just been a front plate and a back plate, and then your cummerbund thing right there. On some plate carriers, you don't have the ability to even put armor. It's just a strap that goes around the side. Some plate carriers, the cummerbunds that are on them, they have little pockets in them that you could put extra armor in there. And like I said, if you have the ability to do that, do it. More armor, the better. Yes, it weighs more, but it could mean the difference in you living or dying. And from this angle, it's really hard to tell if he even had armor in it or not. It looks like it could be thick enough to hold armor, but I really have no idea if it has armor in it or not.
The vehicle has had its hazardous lights on. Lights are flashing. Copy, lights are flashing.
Now remember, the flashing lights was something from OnStar saying they would do, and then once they got confirmation that the lights were flashing, they would hit the kill switch.
We're asking them to shut down the vehicle now.
Now you can see the sparks and stuff that are coming from his deflated tire. Of course, the rubber on this tire has gone away. Now it's down to the rim, so that's what you see here in the thermal.
Mission at Park.
Mission at Park. For the game, took a safe cruise, shut it down. Westbound.
Vehicle stopping. Mission again. Shots fired. Shots fired.
Shots fired. I'm hit. Copy, get ahead. We're getting medics rolling. Roll medics, we have an officer hit. We have medics rolling.
Alright, I'll back that up again so you can see.
Alright. Think up a safe cruise, shut it down. Westbound.
Like I said, turret gunner, just with a regular rifle. There's nothing actually mounted to the turret. And then the officer that gets out of the vehicle goes around up here. He engages in the fight as well.
Vehicle stopping. Mission again.
See the suspect's door opening?
Shots fired. Shots fired.
Shots fired.
You see a bunch of stuff flying around here. I am suspecting that is from projectiles hitting stuff and then ricocheting and stuff like that. You see some hot things right in here. These are probably casings that were fired during the gunfight. Obviously still, looking hot. Gun, not that far from him. So his gun's there. You can actually see some of his casings right here around him.
We're getting that shot. Roll medics, we have an officer hit.
See the casings from the turret guy that are right there. Back it up. So you see his casings right over here.
Roll medics, we have an officer hit. We have medics on.
Hey, perfect!
So this is from the turret. Like, it's hard to know for sure, but this dude probably had no idea that there is a dude in a turret just waiting for him. Probably had no clue whatsoever.
Don't reach for the gun! Hold on, everybody hold! Everybody hold! Everybody hold! He's still moving! The gun is to his left! He's still moving! Hey,
This
perfect!
is from the officer who got shot.
I'm hit! I'm hit! I'm hit! I'm hit!
Back it up.
I'm hit! 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 Are you guys good? I'm hit! I'm hit! Where are you hit? Left side! Left side!
All right. So this officer, I'll replay this so you can see what's going on. He's driving. Parks. And then boom, he gets out with a rifle in hand. So this is what I'm talking about in other videos where you're going to something that's going to involve, the potential of a gunfight. Having your rifle ready. And while you're driving, you can have this rifle slung around your neck. Wear it like a necklace or a one-point configuration. And when you get out of that vehicle, boom, rifle is right fucking there, ready to be put into play. So this is what I talk about in all these other videos about having that rifle ready while you're going to something. So this dude, awesome. I love seeing good tactics like this. Being prepared for the fight, having that fighting mindset. So as I normally complain about in other videos, officers respond to calls involving weapons and they neglect to get their rifles out. And I always advocate that. I think it's a good thing that while you're not to that call, if you've got your vehicle in the front of the vehicle, the cab of the vehicle, and you can hit the magnetic disengage button and take that rifle out, charge it up, and put it around your neck, then do that. If you don't think you can do that while you're driving, just pull off to the side and stop real quick. Get the gun out, danger it up, sling it, resume traveling. And then when you get there, you can get out of the car with that rifle ready to go. Same thing if you keep it in the trunk or the cargo hold area. Pull over, get out, go get it, danger it up, sling it around your neck, get back in the car, and proceed to the route. Then when you get there, It's right there. You've got it. You don't have to go through all this bullshit process in the heat of the moment trying to get it out. If you're fucking taking fire, you're not going to sit there hitting the little button and then trying to get the rifle out of the rack. No, you're going to get the fuck out of that vehicle as quick as you can. Or, if you're still in drive off. You don't want to try to get the rifle out or the shotgun out when you arrive on scene and shit's popping off right there. That's not effective. You want that thing ready to go when you get there. So while you're en route, if you have to pull off to the side, pull off to the side. It just takes a few seconds. Get the rifle out, charge it, sling it, take off. Then when you get there, boom, it is ready to go. So I love seeing this.
Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? Left side.
So you'll notice he's already got a tourniquet out. Now, obviously, a tourniquet's not going to be useful for the injury that he's got, but he doesn't know right off the bat what kind of injury he has. I love the fact that he's carrying a tourniquet.
Where you at? Left side.
But I think that there's... I think that in a way there's a lack of really great medical training within law enforcement and kind of like this over-emphasis, over-reliance on a tourniquet. And it could also be because a tourniquet's the thing that's talked about the most. It's what you see utilized the most in a lot of cases with, wounds to the extremities and stuff. But a tourniquet cannot solve all problems, right? Like there's only 4 fucking places that you can use them on. 2 arms and 2 legs. I mean, those only 4 locations. Someone's got a really bad head wound, you can't put a tourniquet around their neck. I mean, you'll stop the bleeding, don't get me wrong, but you'll also stop some other stuff that you don't want stopped. So, like I said, I like the fact that he's carrying a tourniquet and everything, but like that's his first thing he gets out is a tourniquet, and he don't even know what the hell's wrong with the guy yet. This is also where you should be thinking about BSI, body substance isolation. Now, with that being said, let me back it up. So, body substance isolation, you should always assume that everybody has something. They got AIDS, HIV, hepatitis, herpes, something. Like, you got to imagine they got, something bad. You should always wear gloves, always wear protection. That is a 100% steadfast rule with random members of the public, especially adults. If it's a 5-year-old kid that's bleeding, I think I might skip the process of taking time to put gloves on if it was exigent enough. Yeah, little 5-year-olds could still have something, but not very likely compared to an adult male. So with little kids, sometimes my rules kind of change with little kids because they're little kids. With your own teammates, yeah, you should still strive to try and put gloves on to obviously keep yourself protected as well, but to protect them too so that you're not contaminating the wound or anything like that. But the contaminating the wound thing's not that big of a critical thing because they're going to do some stuff at the hospital to cleanse that. So really when it comes down to the field of wearing gloves, it's more or less to protect you. But with your teammates, especially on a team like this, generally, people in that profession make better decisions than some of the most common lay people. Not saying that, all cops are devoid of any communicable disease or anything like that, but most likely, you probably, got a pretty good chance of your fellow teammate not having AIDS. All right. So something like this, sure, if it's exigent enough, you could skip, if you wanted to. I'm not saying you should. If you wanted to, I don't think it would be that big of a deal to skip putting gloves on for someone on your own team. Anyone else, regular, like random ass person you've never met before, don't know who the fuck they are? No, hell no. Don't skip that. Like, take that time to put those gloves on. That's my recommendation for sure. Take that time to put those gloves on. Like that suspect they got in that gunfight with. Yeah, you're gonna take the time to put those gloves on before you touch that dude. If it's one of your own teammates, yeah, you can still take the time to put the gloves on. But to me, I wouldn't necessarily 100% say that it's something that I'm going to take a lot of effort to do, especially if it's exigent. Like if I think time is of essence, I need to put pressure on that thing right now. I see fucking looks like garden hose pressure, blood coming out of their leg. Yeah, I'm not going to take the time to put fucking gloves on. I'm going to fucking put my hand down on that and press down as hard as I can, add pressure while trying to get a tourniquet out with the other, or plop my damn knee down into their thigh and put all my weight into it while I get a tourniquet out and try to, address it that way. But anyway, BSI is an important thing because you have no idea what people got. Now, I can't see very well the sling and everything that he has on. You got a strobing effect with a light going on here. It looks like he might have an actual 1-point sling on this rifle. And that's kind of the downside to a 1-point sling. Is you can't really sling the damn thing. Like you can't throw the damn thing on your back and roll with it from there. Like it dangles right there in front of you. You're essentially wearing the rifle like a necklace. 2-point slings, you can still wear it like a necklace, similar to a 1-point configuration, but at least you can slip your arm in through it and run the gun to the back, cinch it up, and it's out of the way. You ain't got to worry about it. What he's having to do is he's having to take the fucking rifle off and set it down on the ground because it's kind of in the way when he's needing to bend down and do work. So, and people can argue, all day long about slings and everything. But my take on it is a 2-point is the better sling configuration to have. You can still get that 1-point effect out of it, but when need to, arm through it, roll it to the back, cinch it up, and it's going to stay in your back and stay out of the way. You don't have to lay your weapon on the deck. What if the fight continued, etc.? He's going to have to hopefully remember to grab that rifle and take it with him. If it's boom, taking contact and he takes off trying to get out of the way in a hurry and the rifle's on the deck, well, now he's separated from his rifle and may not be able to get back to it. So 2-point slings, like I said, probably the best sling to be able to get. That way you can retain it on your person and you can actually sling it to your back and keep it out of the front where you need to kneel down and do all this shit and do different tasks that don't involve having to use the rifle.
Is it in the vest? Just put a fucking, I think it went inside. I don't know if it went inside or... Okay, how do we get the vest off?
Alright, how do we get the vest off? So, that is something that you should know. You should know how to remove a vest, and just by... Let me back this up. I think it went inside. You can see the quick disconnect right there. I don't know if it went inside. You should be able to recognize something like that. You should be able to see that future and know exactly how it works. Familiarize yourself with what the rest of your department uses, what the rest of your team uses. That way you know how to do something with it. Other than that, the next best thing to do is just cut that shit off.
Okay, how do we get the vest off? The clips? Where do you hit? Cut it if you have to.
He even says it. Cut it if you have to.
Good, man. I got you. I'm good. I'm not fucking stressing. How do we take this?
So nighttime. Obviously daytime you don't need flashlights, right? Like you got enough light. Nighttime, you're going to need artificial light to see what the hell you're doing. So I like how these outer vests allow you to put a flashlight with a clip on it up in here, and it can be pointed down. That way you can go both hands and do stuff and still have light available to you. Trauma kits, in my opinion, should have headlights in them. If you got an IFAC, then you should put a headlamp inside that IFAC so that when you open that IFAC, boom, there's a headlamp right there. That way, if it's nighttime, you take that damn thing, slip it on your head, turn it on, and you don't have to worry about holding a flashlight. If it's just you there, who the fuck's going to hold that flashlight? And you ain't got a way to clip it to your shirt, your vest, or anything like that. If it's a small enough flashlight and you can keep it in your mouth, probably not the best thing to do. You're not going to be able to hold that light there very long. Your jaw's going to get very fatigued. You're going to have to talk to someone at some point. So you're going to have to reach up and grab that damn light and pull it out of your mouth. You've got blood and shit on your hands. Guess what? Now you just contaminated that fucking light. Are you going to really put that light back in your mouth after it's been contaminated with blood? Probably not. I wouldn't recommend that, even if it is one of your own teammates. That's kind of it's kind of pushing it a little too far. That's obviously increasing your chances of getting something if they've got something. So, trauma kits, IFACs, whatever you want to call them, you need to include a headlamp in there. That way, when you break that thing open and it's nighttime, boom, you've got light that you can put on your head, and wherever you look, you've got light. You can see exactly what you're doing. You can see your patient, the wounds, look to your bag, pull the stuff out that you need, etc. Other than that, your patrol light, on your belt, you can click that. Especially if you're indoors, you can do the umbrella effect. You leave it on your belt, just leave it clicked on. Now, there's probably going to be a bunch of more shadows than what you want. It's not going to be the greatest lighting, but that light on your belt that's pointing upwards, leave it clicked on. It's going to hit the ceiling of the room you're in, and that's going to reflect light back down, and you're going to be able to see a whole lot better. Or depending on the design of the light and everything and where you're at, you could put that light up in the corner, click it on, put it in the corner, and the light shines up to the ceiling. And again, same effect, umbrella effect, reflects light back down from the ceiling, or you can wedge it up onto something to provide light. But the best thing to do is have a headlamp in your IFAC. Now, when it comes to normal patrol uniform kind of stuff, traditionally that's not a normal thing for people to carry, is a headlamp. That's something that you could carry. If you carry a medical ankle holster, you could throw a headlamp in there, and boom, you have the ability to have hands-free lighting while you manage someone's wounds at nighttime. You could also throw it in a cargo pocket, something like that, and that's something that even when wearing a normal uniform without none of the tactical Gucci shit on it, you can still have that ability to utilize a headlamp. Now, like I said, it's not something that's traditionally carried in normal uniforms, but it's something that you should think about in the event that you need to provide medical care to someone or do something and you need both hands for it, and you don't like the option of sticking a light in your mouth, or you have no way to get the umbrella light effect because you're outdoors or something like that.
Stop, man.
So boom, shears come out, and then we see, back this up so you can pause it just right.
There we go. Right there. Okay.
Boom. That's a gunshot. So they're starting to get the vest off and everything. Get that vest off, clear it completely. No need to keep it on for this duration. He's already out of the fight. You're away from the fight area. If you come under the fire, you can drag them, carry them out, get them out, whatever. Or, react to contact, suppress that contact, then move them out, whatever. The vest, at this point, it's no longer needed. It's not like this guy's going to be going back into the fight and doing shit. So get rid of that vest completely. Don't just half-ass take it off. Completely take it off all the way. And then you can start cutting the clothing off at this point as well and completely removing it to be able to get to the wound itself.
Get into the car. Move now. Get into the car now. Just take them off, man.
And again, that wire for the radio,
Take them off,
here he is trying to, pull it off, pull it around. Fuck that. Like, that's an expendable piece of gear at this point. You can cut right through that damn thing. Again, he don't need that damn radio anymore at this point. He's not doing anything critical to talk to dispatch or anything like that. Uniform apparel, armor, belts, whatever. Those are all expendable pieces of equipment. If you need to cut through those things, rip them, shred them, whatever, do it. That stuff can be replaced. There's no sense in taking all this extra time to try and preserve things to get to a traumatic wound. Get to it as quickly as you can. Clear all that extra shit off as quick as you can. Time is of essence in trauma.
Just get in my car. Let's go. All right. Get in my
So they're talking about moving him, getting him in the vehicle, and going.
Hey, can you guys secure that?
Obviously, they're meaning going to the hospital. I understand they're thinking, hey, it's going to be a minute or two before the ambulance gets here. Let's get him in the car, and we'll run code to the hospital ourselves and get there super fast. I get where they're coming from. I get that mindset. But in between him moving from the sidewalk to the vehicle, there's no care being given for him. There's nothing to, quote unquote, stop bleeding or anything to plug that hole. Nothing. Like, it's just going a long period of time of nothing being done. Now, that one clip at the very beginning where you see him trying to cut the shirt with a knife, he's still trying to access that wound while the vehicle's moving. So still, nothing has been done, even at that point, to the wound to stop the bad stuff from happening or keep it from getting any worse. So I think the best thing to do is to go ahead and render that pre-hospital care to him where he's at. Otherwise, you are losing time. As I said, time is of essence when it comes to pre-hospital care. There's a couple of terminology that's used. You got platinum 10 and the golden hour. So the platinum 10 is within the first 10 minutes of a traumatic injury. If you can render pre-hospital care to a person within the 10 minutes of them getting that injury, you increase their chances of survival by X amount percent. The golden hour, if you can, within an hour of a person incurring some type of traumatic injury, if you can render them medical aid and get them into a hospital within an hour, then you increase their chances of survival by X amount of percent. We know that certain injuries kill very fast, like a femoral artery hit. You can bleed out in 90 seconds from one of those. That's why I always advocate, if you could only carry one minimal thing on you as far as first aid stuff, carry a tourniquet, because if the artery in your leg gets hit or artery in your arm gets hit, you need a tourniquet right then and there. You don't need it 7 minutes later. You need it within 90 seconds, or it don't matter if the best doctor in the world gets to you after that point. There's nothing that can be done for you. So time is of the essence, and I think that, like I said, they should have started treating his wounds right there on the sidewalk before taking all this extra time, putting them in the vehicle, and then driving, and then trying to still access the wound while driving. Think about way back in the day before ambulances, what we know them as today, were a thing. Way back in the day, the funeral home would go pick people up on the side of the road from a wreck and then drive them to the hospital. Well, at first it started out with the funeral home gets there, here's this person all fucked up on the side of the road. They drag their ass onto the cot, throw them in the back of the hearse, and they take off down the road really fast. No one in the back doing anything for them. Of course, a lot of people died on the way to the hospital, and then it evolved into, well, maybe there could be somebody in the back of this hearse doing something for this guy. And then that's where, domestically, pre-hospital care started to be born, doing care while driving. And then, of course, it evolved into EMS as we know it today. But what they're doing is almost, in a sense, the same as what it was done way back in the day with the fucking hearse. They're just picking him up and throwing him in the back of the car and taking off really fast. Like, nothing great was being done for this guy in this moment. So, the best thing, like I said, is go ahead and treat that wound right then and there on that sidewalk. Once you got him stabilized to some extent, and the ambulance hasn't got there yet, and they say they're 7 minutes out, then you can throw him in the car and take off.
Right back there with them. Get that thing out of there. Get that thing out of there. All right, I'm gonna go hands on. You got it. Good. Roll over. I'm with you.
And again, 1-point sling configuration. This is the fail that you see happening. Back this up. Hear the rifle dragging across the ground. Now, that in and of itself is not the end-all be-all thing. Who cares if the rifle is getting scratches or anything like that? It don't matter. But what does matter is the management of this rifle, in the sense that it's not very well maintained or secured by him, because it is of a 1-point configuration. There's no easy way to sling this thing to the rear. Like, as soon as you bend down or go forward and both of your hands come off that rifle, it's going to hit the deck. It's going to drag around. Now, on asphalt, that doesn't matter so much, but if you're in dirt and stuff like that, the biggest risk that you run into is plugging that muzzle with dirt. And then when you try to go fire that damn thing, that rifle's not going to work anymore. It's going to blow the fucking barrel on it. So, like I said, 1-point slings, they seem nice, but in reality, they really suck when you want to go hands off with it, because at that point, it just dangles around. You can get a 2-point sling. You can still run it like a 1-point if you want to in a pinch, but with a 2-point, you can slide that arm through it, roll it to the back, cinch it up tight, or even roll it to the side, cinch it up tight, or even have it to the front and cinch it up tight. And it's going to stay to you, clung to you a lot better, and it's not going to be in the way, dragging around, clanking it in the shit, running the risk of plugging the barrel with dirt, etc. So they're handcuffing this guy, and you may be asking, or a lot of people ask, well, why they handcuff people after they've been shot? Reason being is sometimes people still get back up after being shot, especially with pistols. There's lots of people who've been shot with pistols. They went down, they were temporarily down, and they got back up. So with rifles, it's a lot less likely, but there's still people who've gotten back up after being shot with rifle. So if this guy were to wake back up or start fighting while they're trying to render aid to him, then it's a whole lot harder for someone to effectively fight when their hands are cuffed behind them. or when their hands are cuffed to the front even. Not really a big fan of people being cuffed to the front. I think cuffing to the back is the best way to go. Reason being is, let's imagine a pillow fight, right? Let's say I have my hands cuffed to the front and I got a pillow, and you've got your hands cuffed to the back and you've got a pillow. Who do you think is going to get hit in the face more with a pillow? You are. So that's why I say people should always be cuffed to the back. It just makes it extremely fucking difficult for them to effectively fight. One thing that's referenced a lot in firearms training, especially within law enforcement firearms training, is a case out of Florida back in the 1980s. Miami, Florida, FBI got into a shootout with a couple of bank robbers. One of them took multiple hits from FBI, shot him multiple times, and the dude still kept fighting and ended up killing 2 FBI agents and seriously wounding others. The other bank robber got shot in the head in the very beginning of this gunfight. It only temporarily knocked him out. He woke back up during the middle of the gunfight, crawled out of his car, went back to the vehicle that the FBI had been in and tried to take off in it. And you would think someone being shot in the head, like, they're not going to be getting back up. That's not the case. Sometimes people do get back up. And again, that's why people who've been shot get handcuffed, because sometimes people can get back up.
Alright. You got scissors? Scissors? I got a knife. I cut his shit off. Alright. Take his rifle. I can't see this other side here. Hang on.
So as far as the clothing goes, his feet are not shackled. So removing pants, in my opinion, you don't even have to worry about trying to use scissors or anything to cut the pants. Just tug them down. Like, just grab them, yank on them, and slide them off. Just like you're trying to change a baby's diaper, right? Like, you just pull the fucking pants off and then get to it. If you need to slip their shoes off, throw those to the side. They're not going to be needing them. And just pull their pants all the way down and get rid of them. There's no sense in trying to take that time to cut up along the seam of the, or the side of the pant leg and go all the way to the top. None of that. Just fucking yank them and go. Now, obviously, you can't yank the shirt off because their hands are cuffed, right? So that's where you have to actually take the time to use the scissors to cut the clothing on someone who's been handcuffed, is getting that shirt or that jacket removed. Other than that, if it's below the waist, yank it off. It's a lot quicker that way.
Hang on. Hold him over. I gotta make sure it's clear. Got a holster. Alright, 2 mags.
Alright, back this up.
Got a holster. Hang on. Hold him over. I gotta make sure it's clear. Got a holster. Alright, 2 mags.
So he mentions a holster and 2 mags. So that kind of goes back to what I talked about way at the beginning of this video. That makes me wonder if this guy had any training or had practiced a lot with the gun. Because, like I said, he got out of that vehicle. He starts firing at police and taking fire from 2 different officers. And he gets a hit on one of these officers. Now, it could have been a simple fluke, a lucky hit on his part, or he could have been consciously aiming at that officer, trying to use his sights and putting rounds on target, and got him. I don't know. It could have been shooter's luck. He could have just been wearing the holster because he knew he's probably going to get in a gunfight with police at this point. I don't know. But there's a little bit part of me that thinks that this guy probably had some level of training at some point in his life. And that is why he got a hit on an officer in this gunfight. It's not like, he just started popping rounds off and, what's the best way to try and explain it? I don't know. Like I said, I think he's had some degree of training.
Hands on this side. Flip them more. Cut them off.
Now, unfortunately, they blur everything. There's a couple moments where outside the blur box, you can see a wound on his arm.
Where's Danny hit?
Side. Okay, so it's in the side. He's already run some PMC. He's still talking. He's learning beforehand. He's good.
Anybody got some gauze? Get something to put pressure on these.
Yeah, I got quick line.
I got it.
Stay right there.
We need pressure.
There we go. Good.
It's like left arm, can't tell on the right.
Mine. Yep.
Yep. We need pressure on those.
Alright.
And I'm blowing up.
Yeah.
Give me a second.
Yep. And then cut the shirt off and then we can get pressure on the chest.
I'm gonna cut this.
Yep.
Just rip it. Alright, we got one, two. Left stomach. Left stomach, two in the abdomen. Is this yours, buddy?
No.
Whose is this? Where's Maddox?
I don't know.
You got any more? Just hold it. Hold on there. Anybody got a chest seal?
Yeah.
Chest seal?
Chest seal. We need a chest seal. Try and hold this, guys. That guy's.
There's another one down there.
Hey, I'm just gonna put my hand on it. I'm just gonna put my hand on it. You good, guys?
Max, you're here. Max, you're here.
Very good. You're good. No, it's on, guys. You're good.
Max, you're here.
This incident marked the third time in 2021 in which violent criminals shot at our police officers, and the second time in which an Escondido police officer was shot. I am proud of the heroic actions of my police officers. They tried for more than 2 hours to convince the suspect to surrender peacefully. But when he chose not to, the officers protected themselves and our community from an armed assailant. They rescued the female passenger, rendered medical aid to an injured officer, as well as attempted life-saving measures for the same person who just seconds earlier had attempted to kill them. The officers' bravery and dedication protecting our community is nothing short of remarkable. Thank you for watching this video.
All right.
Community is nothing short.
That's it for this video. Nothing else to say. If you like what you hear and see, go ahead and give me a like and a share. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching.